Yes. Hello. All right. So glad you could all come to the grand opening of Baking Soda Central. I didn't know when I bought this house 2 years ago that I would turn it into a giant sized baking soda box. But that was because I didn't know how marvelous baking soda was back then. But now we have to talk about this because it's a really important topic, especially right now, 2020. So, the rest of you may be fans of baking soda way before me, so we know it's good for stuff. Like, maybe you can help me out here. What are your favorite things you use it for?
I like using it to brush my teeth with.
Brush teeth. That's a big one. That's been around for 100 more, pretty much 100 years longer. In 1930, there was a big push by Arm & Hammer to get people using it because dental health was so bad. Any other ideas?
Cookies!
Cookies, of course.
Yummy!
Cooking. So of course that was the big kicker for the company in North America that got it kind of figured out how to process and make baking soda because women had spent too long baking with yeast. It was a full day thing. So they were pretty keen on something that could make things bubbly and light and be quick and easy. So when these two men, Dwight and Church, brothers-in-law and brother, figured out how to process this in their kitchen and selling it, it went like hotcakes. So, lots of little things. I experienced something the other day. We had a stove we couldn't get clean. We had a whole lot of cleaning products, and I took the box of baking soda out of the fridge where people keep it, and I thought I'll give this a try, and I threw it on this really greasy stove, and it came off like sludgy snow in Nova Scotia, like that. I was quite shocked because I'd heard about this, but I saw it with my own eyes. Got the thing clean. Lots of books written. Here's a couple. These ones are both about health things. Baking soda for health, The Natural Apothecary, but there are people that write 101 things you can do with baking soda. So what happened when these two brothers, John Dwight and Austin Church, these pictures are actually the wrong guys, the other way around, made their baking soda and started selling it, is women and men accidentally found out that it did other things for them, and they wrote back to Arm & Hammer and they told them, I would expect to clean the kitchen was probably the first thing that they found out about. And so they started writing pamphlets with different tips in it that were useful for all around the house and different aspects of life. But as we go along, we find out more and more things that it's useful for us. I'm going to tell you a couple kind of astounding things. The Statue of Liberty. Statue of Liberty had a 100th anniversary in 1986, and apparently, haven't been there, it's all copper on the inside, and they gave it a scrub with 200 tons of baking soda. Acid rain in lakes is a big problem. Acid, well, what does baking soda do? It's a neutralizer. So there was a professor, I'll give you his name here, Bisonji, James Bisonji, and in 1985 he restored Wolf Pond, which was a virtually dead 50-acre lake in the Adirondacks, by adding 20 tons of baking soda to the water, getting it back to normal. Here's another thing Arm & Hammer is noted for. In 1970, they were the only sponsors of Earth Day, the first Earth Day, and this launched them into an eco-friendly cleaning reputation because they cared about the environment, not putting phosphates in. Well, all these things are pretty interesting. And I'm going to just tell you a little bit more about the history of it. Before these American guys discovered how to make this stuff, it was used way back in Egyptian times. It was used for mummification, it was used for dental care, cleaning, all kinds of things, because they found naturally occurring sediment in, or I'm not quite sure what it was, in the Nile, banks of the Nile, and they were able to use it. It's found in different places in history that it was used. It was something similar to it was used in making soap, and there was a lack of soap in product in the 1700s, and King Louis XVI ran a contest worth some chunk of money, 2,400 pounds of silver for the person who could come up with a process that could make sodium carbonate, which is related to sodium bicarbonate, and a chemist, a French chemist, Nicolas Leblanc, in 1791 figured out how to do it, and he set up a plant. Unfortunately, the French Revolution happened, and 3 years later, his plant was overrun, his secrets were stolen, and everybody started making their own plant and their own production. He never got his money, and he was never able to revive his company properly. But the word was out, and I suspect that that is why now in Europe, in Romania, that people use baking soda because it got its launch back then. Then, as I said earlier, it came over to America, the thought came over to America half a century later and got going here as a cooking agent. So, these things are pretty cool. But I'm going to tell you what got me excited about it, and my friend Michelle. We're working together on a baking soda project, and I'm going to tell you what that story was. But I think I'm going to change my locale.